welcome to 2025.
And for those of us who still don't have a clear definition of what people mean when they say the deep state, here's an excellent definition.
What is the deep state? So let's talk about that. So our founding fathers defined tyranny as the consolidation of all three branches of government into a centralized power, like what they were dealing with the crown, right? The crown wrote the laws, adjudicated the laws, and enforced the laws, okay? So the founding fathers decided to break all these, these branches of government up and put checks and balances. I could get into all that another time, but the point is
another time. Yeah.
Yes, the checks and balances within the system keep tyranny at bay.
That's the theory.
If you corrupt the checks and balances of the system, you don't need to corrupt the whole system. You just need to corrupt the things that keep tyranny at bay, right? So if you have a single globalist corrupting entity that is able to influence and control the checks and balances within our system, then they can essentially centralize the three-branch government system under their rule. Now, that's essentially what happened after 1913. It's what happened with the Federal Reserve. We also look at FDR and the bureaucracy and the creation of the, the fourth branch of government, right? Which is essentially a consolidation of all three branches of government into a centralized power, because the bureaucracy has its own laws/regulations that they write. They also have their own regulation enforcement agents, executive branch. They also have their own administrative courts that are outside the federal court system. So they are writing laws, they're enforcing those laws, and they are adjudicating those laws in a system that's outside the federal system. That's tyranny. Okay, so we have the circumventing of the three-branch government system, centralizing power that way. They do that, and then they push through all the legislation necessary to create the fourth branch of government, the bureaucracy. Then these two things work together to push a culture that enforces this illusion that we are free. You see? And then we move closer and closer toward tyranny. More and more lawfare is done against people that are innocent. And then we look at the larger picture on a global scale. And what we see is that the UN, WEF, the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, whatever. All of these entities, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all of these international entities are the global deep state, okay? They are the ones that are centralizing power in all countries around the planet.
Yeah, it's worldwide, yeah.
And then what they're doing is they're taking that apparatus and they're placing it in the federal government. So now we have a international deep state, we have a national deep state. And then from that national deep state, they start going into the states and start messing with things, and then they create little state-like deep states, like what we deal with in Arizona.
In California.
Okay? And California, okay? So then this is how the system is exponentially corrupted. And it's all reinforced through the mockingbirds and the media pushing the psyop.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Do you do parties? Because I tell you, man, I'm learning a lot from you. It's really amazing.
Amazing explanation of the deep state. Now let's look at the new administration attempting to hold people accountable for spending the taxpayers' money.
USAID has gotten a lot of attention in the last couple of days with some of these bizarre things that taxpayers have been funding. Now it looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOJ team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort. Thank you.
Wow. Seems like more common sense, but we can see by who is screaming about this, who is getting paid from USAID in one form or another. But the more they scream, the more we realize what is really going on. And remember, Politico was getting millions of dollars for their anti-Trump propaganda. And welcome to 2025.